Wow, can't believe it. Only 2 releases left to review in the DoDonPachi universe. Now, many people consider DaiOuJou to be a seminal release, not only in the shoot 'em up community, but a lot of people consider it the best DoDonPachi game. While I understand where they're coming from, I do disagree, but during this review, hopefully, I'll explain why. Let's do this. Released in 2002 into arcades, DoDonPachi DaiOuJou would see many series-changing elements. This was also the release, I feel, signaled a change in the series. It's sort of the transitional game from the earlier games in the series to the later releases, to how the series as a whole was influenced. DaiOuJou is unique among its other brethren, at least on the arcade hardware side of things. This game was released on the IGS Polygame Master arcade hardware, and is the only release to do so. No, let's not even get into or talk about the dreaded DoDonPachi 2 B-Storm, which is another PGM release, but is a total black sheep piece of ass garbage. The storyline is simplistic enough, and sets the stage pretty much for the rest of the series onward. Centuries have passed since the events of the last DoDonPachi, with the remnants of the enemy squadron being sealed away in a network of caves on the moon. Over time, the machines multiplied, and created their own vast army beneath the moon's surface. Eventually, humans colonize the moon's surface, and then all hell breaks loose. The evil machines surface and take control of Lunopolis. Realizing that shit hit the fan, the DoDonPachi Corps is reactivated, but with limited time, they're only able to build 2 new fighters. However, each one is outfitted by an element doll, highly evolved androids with brains and technical know-how to at least give the pilots a chance of succeeding. So off we go. The game is comprised of the usual 5 stages, with the second loop beginning if certain requirements are met. You pilot one of 2 craft. Basically, Type A, and a cross between Type B and Type C. Everything else from the previous games are carried over, from chaining to bombs to big bosses. The new addition is hypers. These basically function like steroids, not only for your firepower, but for scoring purposes as well. You build up your hypermeter during gameplay, and once it's filled, a small H item will come floating down into the screen for you to pick up. These can be kept and used at your discretion as they stack 5 high. The cool thing is that the effect is quantitative, meaning the more you have stored when you fire it off, the greater the effect. You still have the choice between 3 fire options, each element doll representing a different one. I usually use Exie because she boosts both shot power and laser power. Speaking about things on the graphics side, they're pretty good. All the enemy ships are nicely done, and some of the backgrounds look fantastic. Firepower looks pretty good, and most of the bosses have good design elements. The music, as to be expected from Cave, is outstanding as usual. You get a really nice mix of synthesizers, guitar work, and some very upbeat tracks thrown in for good measures. If you're really into the soundtrack, there is a remixed, arranged version that was released, but for me personally, I prefer the remixed versions used inside DaiOuJou. There's 3 different endings to the game, depending on which element doll you played through the game with. Here's a little secret. If you play through as Exie, you basically get to see the setup that leads to the sequel, DaiFukatsu. Overall, DoDonPachi DaiOuJou is a great addition to Cave's lineup, and while it isn't my favorite, it definitely is a great playthrough now and again. There was a version released on the Xbox 360 in Japan, labeled as Black Label Extra, and I've thought about picking it up, but I just haven't yet. It was also released on the PlayStation 2 as well, and I actually have this copy. There's a few different modes, like death label or no bullets. There's a gallery and a few other things. It's a pretty simple release, but obviously no HD. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Go check it out. And one of the main things that I don't really like about DaiOuJou is that compared to, say, the previous DoDonPachi game, the chaining window is pretty strict in this game. And I think that's why a lot of fans prefer it that way. But I kind of get annoyed with it because you really have to chain really well and be able to carry the chain through the entire level.